everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I noticed that this video will go up in the Christmas weekend, so I thought I'll put on my Christmas hat. I couldn't find my self-made Christmas hat that I made years ago, so I have this strange funny one to wear. So Merry Christmas to everybody. This week we're gonna make a coat or cardigan depending on how thick your fabric is. I have this really thick knitted fabric. This is just 1.5 meters, so you see what big of a bulk it is, what thick the fabric is. And we're gonna make a coat or cardigan, and it's a very simple one. It's a very easy pattern, very easy project. This head is going over my eyes. So if you're a beginner, you can certainly do this. It's really not difficult to sew or to make the pattern. As always, you get your basic pattern to your body type, not your size, not something you have to buy. You can just make your own when you follow my sewing class that I leave down below in the description box. And I show you what kind of cardigan we're gonna make. And if you like my videos, please consider subscribing. If you've done already, thank you so much and welcome back. And let's see what we're gonna make. And here are some examples. You see Josie from Fashion Mumbler here on YouTube in the most left and the most right picture, and 2 pictures from Instagram in the middle. And you see some of them are more of a coat because it's a thicker knit. Some are more of cardigan. Mine is also a very thick knitted fabric, so it will be more of a coat. But it doesn't matter how thick or how thin your fabric is. It's just very long, sleek cardigans with no closure. But of course, if you like, you can make a closure. Long sleeves, and I like a shawl collar. I don't know what it's called in English, but I will call it a shawl collar, and you will see in the inspiration or in the pattern making how we're gonna make that and how that will be. And there's no very specific things. You can add pockets if you like. You can add pockets in the side seam or pockets just sewing on. I think I won't because of my fabric, but you can certainly do that if you like that. And also the drawing is very simple. It is just plain on a cardigan with long sleeves. In the back also nothing different, nothing special. You see here the part of the shawl collar that is attached to the back pattern, and it's going on here, and I really didn't know how to draw it else than like this, but it means that the collar is just going up here and then going to the back. So I'll show you now in the pattern how that looks. So, and this piece is just the most difficult piece of this whole project, because it's such an easy project to do, but it will really give a nice result. So what you need is your basic pattern for a top. I will link down below and here in the upper right corner where you can get that. I made a whole video on how to make your basic pattern to your own sizing. It's very easy to do and very nice to have, because you can use it over and over again. We always start with our basic pattern and then make the adjustments to whatever garment you're going to make. So you take your basic pattern, and what you do is I just tape here on top a piece of extra paper. You can also do it all the way down, but I know I want to add here 4 centimeters to my mid front. And because we also need some here for the collar, I made a piece of paper just here on the top, 4 centimeters here, same for going down. And then what you do is you extend your shoulder seam with 4 centimeters. And probably different than yours, my shoulder seam is straight on because I have very straight on shoulders, but for most people it will be a bit like this, going a bit down to the armhole. And that line that is normally just like this, you're gonna extend with 4 centimeters. So you add 4 centimeters here to the end of your shoulder seam. Then you make a line just perpendicular to that extension, and that is also 4 centimeters. But you draw that. I made mine 7 centimeters higher, because 7 centimeters is the width of my back neck hole. So here my back neck hole is here folded under, so I cannot show you, but my back neck hole is going like this, and you measure with your measuring tape how much that back hole is, so half your back hole, because of course it's half your pattern. So that distance you add here on top. So for me that was 7 centimeters, and then again you made that 4 centimeters wide. And then what you do is you make a curved line from the end of this line here, going down to where the height of your apex. So that's why I just stopped with adding paper here, because from here it's just straight down 4 centimeters wide from your mid front. So you make a curved line going like this, going to that 4 centimeter mark on your apex height. And it doesn't matter if it's more curved or less curved, it's just about. It doesn't have to be precise. But that is what you add to your basic pattern. And this part here, on top of where you extended your shoulder seam, is the part that will be flipped over and will be attached to your back neck hole. So this here, this line will be your mid back, because you fold it like this to your back. So I hope you understand. It doesn't matter, you will see when we sew it, but it's nice to understand what you are drawing now. So it's very simple, but this piece gives here your whole shawl color. And also because we add here 4 centimeters, we have here some overlap. If you don't want any overlap because you're not going to close up your cardigan, you can also make it less or none, and then you make your curve going just like this. But make sure that you have here at least 4 centimeters, and make sure that this distance is at least or just about your back neck hole. I always cut on a little bit more just to be safe, because when you have too little, then you cannot attach it to your back neck hole and then you have a problem. So I always cut on a little bit more, and then I see where I need to make my mid back seam, that it is really nicely fitting in your neck hole. So that is for the front, left and right. I'm not going to use my darts. You can if you do, but I have a very weighted fabric, so I'm not going to do that, because it will not be nice and it will not be comfortable if I make here darts in my fabric. But if I have a more lightweighted fabric, then you can do, if you want to make it more fitted. I will just do with last week's project, just use my side seam as my side seam now, and that means that my side seam will be this bit wider. So my project will be this bit wider than a normal fitted one. The back pattern is just your basic back pattern that I cannot show you because I folded in here the back hole, but it's just the bare basic pattern if you have a loose one. Otherwise it's just this one. And then you're gonna need your sleeve, your basic sleeve. And again, same as the last week's project, I'll just use my basic pattern for a sleeve. In that project I made it a little bit smaller. I have to see now if I have to do it, because this fabric is way thicker than that one. So I don't think I will have to, but just doing it I will see how wide it will be and how it looks on my arm when I use this width, or if I have to take it in. So that's all that you need. So really pretty simple. I'm gonna cut it out and then I'll come back and show you how we're gonna sew it together. So I got all my pieces cut out, my backs, my 2 front pieces and 2 sleeves. Flip them over, this is the right side. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put the front parts on top of the back parts, right sides together of course, matching up the shoulders. And then we're going to start with sewing down the shoulder seams. And that means you have here now your collar attached, so make sure that you mark or that you watch where your back shoulder ends, because that is where your seam must end. So it's a little bit inside this seam of this edge of your collar, so it's around there. And you pin them together, both the sides, and then you sew the shoulder seams. And we're not going to sew the side seams yet, because this is well, at least my fabric is very thick. So I'm going to sew first in the sleeves in the armhole, and then sew the sleeve seam and the side seam, because that makes it a little bit easier when you have such a thick fabric as I have. If you have a lighter weight fabric, you can also sew now your side seams already. But first sew your shoulder seams and make sure here you give it a good back stitch so that this won't get loose. And the back are together here on the shoulder seams, and maybe if you hadn't figured out yet how that collar was going to be, maybe you see it now. These are sticking out, and what you're going to do is you're going to attach them at the mid back seam. So you put them right sides together and you stitch that down, and when you've done that, I will pin it and I can show you. When you have stitched them together, you have something like this, you see, and it means that you can attach it here to your back neck hole. So you put the right sides together, and you see when you flip it down, it fits exactly here into your back neck hole. So just line the sides up and then sew that down, and make sure that you don't get a bump here in the connection here with your shoulder seam. So make sure that you pin that right, or maybe just make a basting stitch first to see if it's okay like that, and then do the final stitching. But first, of course, do the mid back, and when you've done that, then you have your collar nicely attached to your back neck hole. Well, that was a nice trick to make a collar, wasn't it? I always like how that looks. It's so easy, and it's just a trick you have to know. And I have used this really nice standing up collar, and it looks really nice and professional, although it was not difficult at all. But I always like to make this because it looks so nice and polished like this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put in our sleeves. So put your cardigan one side out, put your sleeve, mark the middle of your sleeve by folding it together, that you know where the middle is. So just fold it and place a pin here in the middle, and then, well, you can just put it right side out, of course, because you have to put your sleeve on top of it, so you don't have to turn it on. Then match up the mid of your sleeve with your shoulder seam. It's a lot of fabric and heavy fabric. It's really more a coat than a cardigan, my fabric. So match up your shoulder seam with the mid of your sleeve. Pin them together. And then match up the bottom of your armhole in the front and the bottom of your armhole in the back with the sleeve. And then distribute the fabric in between the pins so that it is nicely divided along the whole armhole. So just pin it in like this and the front side, and then sew that down, and do that for both sides, of course. So sleeves are nicely in. Now we're gonna seam our side seams and our sleeve seams. And I was thinking, I haven't tried it on yet, but because my fabric is so heavy, I might make some pockets, because when it's more as a coat, you always like to put your hands into pockets. But if I'm gonna make pockets, I will just put pockets here on top of the fabric. But if you like to have pockets in the side seams, then do that now, because we're gonna now sew up the side seams, and you have to make the pockets first. And I'm not gonna do it, so I'm not gonna show you. But if you don't know how to do it, I will link up here and down in the description box how to make pockets in the side seams, because I have a whole sewing class about how to do that, and you can watch that and sew along with that when you want to make pockets in the side seam here. I'm just gonna sew up the side seams and the sleeve seams, so I'm gonna put my white sides together, flip it over. I can put my front and backs together again. And then you can sew your side seams and your sleeve seams in one go. So just line up here your armholes, and from there you can pin your sleeve and your side seam. Cardigan is nicely together, looks really cute like this. I decided not to make pockets. I was a little bit debating, but because my fabric is so thick, you tend to want to put hands in pockets, but I don't think it looks nice when I make pockets here on it. It gives too much bulk here, and I think it takes away the nice sleekness of the cardigan, so I'm not going to do it. If you have another fabric, then certainly think about making pockets, because it's always nice to have that when you have such a long coat cardigan piece, but for my fabric I choose not to. What we're going to do now is we're going to finish here the whole front line and of course the seams. Because my fabric is so thick, I don't think it's nice to make a rolled hem, because it will be very thick, and I don't think that looks nice, because you will have your collar standing up and this like this, but maybe sometimes it will open up, and I think it's not nice when you see this thick rolled hem here on the side. So I decided to use some ribbon like this. It is a knitted ribbon, and it is a bit like a bias tape, because it has here this squeeze in the middle that folds over. And what you can do with this is you can put it along the edge and then sew it on. So it is, well, just like a bias tape. And I'm gonna sew this all around the whole front part, and then the bottom of the cardigan and the bottom of the sleeves I'm just gonna give a normal hem. But what I'm gonna do here, also not a rolled hem, but just finishing the edge and then just take it in one time and top stitch it then. Then I don't get too much bulk along the hem lines. So those are the last things, and then our cardigan is done. Nice cozy and warm cardigan, or if you don't live in that kind of a cold of country, you can also wear it as a coat outside, because it's really nice and thick, and it has a nice overlap. So if you like to wear it as a coat, you can belt it up and then it stays closed up, and it's really nice. It's really heavy fabric that I used, so it's a nice and cozy thing to wear. In my country it's always windy and rainy, so I don't think I will wear it outside, but if your climate is a bit better than mine, then you can certainly do that, because it's really a nice warm cardigan. And And if you like to wear it as a coat, then choose a belt in the same color as your ribbon if you use the ribbon like me, and then you have really this really nice result as a coat, and it stays nice and put, and I think it looks really nice like this. You can also choose a more wider belt, but because I'm very short, I rather prefer more a smaller belt because it doesn't take away that much of my body. This is also a very nice way to wear this piece. And I really like these shawl collars that are high in your neck at the back. It's very nice and comfortable and warm in your neck when it's not really that nice of a weather. So I really like this this one. And you saw this kind of a color is really not difficult, but it gives a really nice and polished look. And I also really like the binding, or what you call it, the ribbon that we put on here. It gives a really nice and chic outcome, and I think that's really nice. If you have a thinner fabric, you can also just hem it with a double folds, or make a facing, of course. But I think for my fabric it was not an option because it would really be too bulky then here on the front, and I don't like that. But I think this looks really nice. So I also like the color very much because it's the warm rich brown like leather has, and it's really adding something to the cardigan, I guess. So I'm happy with the result. I hope you liked it too. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the description box, and I'll get back to you as soon. I always say description box, in the comment section, of course, and I'll get back to you almost the same day. If you have any problems with the pattern, also just give me a question. If you like my videos, please consider subscribing if you haven't done already, and share them with others if you know other people that like to sew but are afraid to do it, or don't have patterns that are fitting for them. Send them over here, and you know they get the pattern that they need for their body type. So I hope you like this one. Thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you again next time.